A vacation should be a time to decompress, disconnect, and relax. But before you plan that getaway, could your next vacation be dangerous, even deadly? Today we're investigating vacation crimes. Why have so many popular destination spots become a haven for robbery, rape, and even murder against unsuspecting Americans? Correspondent Mara Schiavocampo has been investigating something that I never thought we'd be talking about. But you looked a lot into this. What surprised you the most? What stood out?
What really surprised me is that we're seeing people become victims of crime, not when they are going on dangerous or risky excursions or going to neighborhoods that perhaps they should stay away from. It really can happen to anyone at any time. You know, Natalie Holloway famously disappeared on vacation. She was on a high school graduation trip. Much more recently, we saw a woman in Mexico who died from reportedly drinking tainted alcohol. Who doesn't want a cocktail when they're on vacation? That's part of the reason we go on vacation, right? Is to unwind and relax. It really can happen to anyone. You have to be so vigilant.
It seems to me the reports of violence on vacations have been increasing. Is that my perception, or is there an increasing prevalence?
You know, it depends on where you're going, but it can be shockingly high, including at popular vacation spots. For example, in Mexico in 2016, 75 Americans were killed while traveling there.
75?
75. That's more than the number.
Did you guys know that?
It's shockingly high. That is more than the number, to give you some perspective, of American travelers killed that entire year in every other country of the world combined. Another popular vacation spot is Jamaica, where in 2017, 6 Americans were killed and 12 Americans sexually assaulted or raped. And we're not even talking about the smaller crimes, you know, the robberies, the petty theft. It is shockingly high.
Are U.S. citizens being targeted especially?
You know, there are two things that are happening here that we're seeing. For one, sometimes people get caught in local violence. We saw that last year. A woman was traveling from Chicago to celebrate her wedding anniversary with her husband in Mexico. She was hit by a stray bullet in an upscale neighborhood. She was not the intended target. She was an innocent bystander, but she lost her life. And then there are other things that are happening. Tourists are extremely vulnerable and valuable. So vulnerable in the sense that, think about it, you often don't know the geography, you may not know the language. Depending on where you are, you may not even have cell phone service. That makes you a vulnerable target. And valuable because Americans are coming from a very wealthy country, especially compared to a lot of the poorer countries that we travel to. So think about things that you might not normally think about: an engagement ring, a watch. Those things can be tremendously valuable depending on where you're going.
With all these insights, what's the State Department saying? What's our government doing?
Yeah, the State Department does issue travel warnings, and several popular spots are on a list right now, including Mexico, the Bahamas, Belize,
These are hot
the
spots.
Dominican Republic, hotspots, and they are advising Americans traveling there to exercise increased caution. Another one that you saw on that list, Jamaica. One travel company ranked it the 3rd most dangerous place in the world for female travelers.
Jeez. These are places that I see advertisements for all the time, places that I've gone to and I've enjoyed.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind that plenty of people go there without incident and have a great time. And these countries thrive on the tourist economy. So we want to be mindful of that, but you also have to protect yourself.
Yeah, they don't want it either. But the question is, what are we doing about it and what can we do to be safer? So let's get to the case of Desiree Gibbon. She was from New York, was found murdered in Jamaica. What do we know about her and what happened to her?
Yeah, this is really such a sad case. She was in Montego Bay because her family had some connections there. She was there for a month, and 3 days before she was scheduled to leave, she was found dead on the side of a remote dirt road with her throat slashed.
Oh my goodness. So let's get into this a little bit. We have the autopsy report. This was a serious attack. The autopsy report shows that she had massive bleeding and a chopping wound, that's their word, a chopping wound to her neck. In fact, that injury severed her carotid artery, her jugular vein, and her trachea. Do you know how hard you have to cut at someone to cut that deeply? It went all the way down into her spine. Now, putting it together, she had linear wounds on her hands. So, in theory, they think she may have been kneeling, and the perpetrator was behind her. She put her hand up to defend herself, so the knife would have cut her hand. And in fact, there were cuts on her right hand on the palmar surface. And then the injury came along this side of her neck. And by cutting here, it went very deep. So it gives you the idea that there was probably a man, because the deep cut was done by someone who was probably left-handed, based on the injuries that we see. So these are just high-level insights you might gain from looking at the autopsy report, but you've gained a lot of additional insights.
Yeah, for one thing, and you described the viciousness of that attack, that kind of attack indicates that this may have been personal in nature, that this may have been someone who knew her and that this was a personal interaction. The other thing is that it may not have been just one person when you describe how brutal this attack was. And it's worth pointing out she was not sexually assaulted. No. So that was not a motive here. So these things tend to point to the idea that this was somebody that she knew.
So up next, Desiree Gibbon's mother is here. She's speaking out about what she thinks happened and why she believes police are not actively looking for her daughter's killer. Stay with us. That was Desiree Gibbon, a 26-year-old model and actress from the United States who was found murdered in Montego Bay, Jamaica after visiting the island on vacation. A year after her death, her murder still is unsolved, and Desiree's mother, Andrea, is here. Tell me about your daughter.
Desiree is the best person you would have ever met in your life. She was a wanderlust. She enjoyed cultures of all kind. She traveled the world. She was just one who wanted to travel and just get to know people and get to know the world.
So when was the last time you spoke to your daughter, and how did she seem to you?
The last time I spoke to her was probably about 9:30 p.m. on Thanksgiving of 2017. She was the happiest that I'd ever heard her. She felt good things were happening for her. She had gone on vacation there, and she wanted to spend a month. You know, her grandparents have a bread and breakfast in Montego Bay. So she went down, she said, "Mom, I'll go for a month." So, fine. She'd been there many times throughout her life. And during her course there, she was, going around to the local places where they have the clubs and Margaritaville and things. She says, "Mom, maybe I'll do bartending when I'm here," because she was an actress and a model, and that's what she did to support herself here in New York.
So she sounds good to you. This is at 9:30 the night she disappears.
Correct.
Was there anything unusual about what was happening in her life around then? Any out of the ordinary events?
The only thing that struck me as odd is she deleted her Instagram. So when I was trying to communicate with her on Instagram, it wasn't going through. So I asked her that day, "What happened to your Instagram?" She's like, "Oh, I'm taking a break. I deleted it." So I don't know if she had an experience of somebody trying to contact her through Instagram, and therefore, to avoid it, she just disconnected everything. I'm not sure.
Were you concerned about her safety at all while she was in Jamaica?
Honestly, I was not. 20/20 hindsight. I didn't know, but I was not concerned at all.
Right. So everything seems normal with the exception of this Instagram deletion. So 3 days before Desiree was scheduled to fly home, the evening that she spoke to her mom, her body was found in an abandoned driveway. Mm-hmm. What was it like to get that phone call?
Oh, God. It was horrific. I was sitting at work when her uncle called me and told me I needed to go home, that something happened, and to call him back on that number. And I told him, "I'm at work, I'm in a meeting, I'm not going home, what's the matter?" So it was all through text message. So then I texted my husband and I said, "Your brother just called me, what's going on, is Desiree okay?" He tried to call me, and because I was in a meeting, I just hit can't talk right now, and he sent me a message. "My mother just told me they killed my daughter." I was devastated. I could not move. Sitting in the boardroom, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. Ultimately, I got up and excused myself and went into my office and called my husband. And when I heard him screaming on the phone, I knew. I just knew it was true.
So you're a nurse. Mm-hmm. You've dealt with pain and loss. Mm-hmm. Now you have to apply that skill to dealing with your own daughter.
Yeah.
A couple of days after Desiree was killed, you arrived in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. You had to identify the body.
Right.
What was that like?
That was extremely difficult, and I did not expect to see what I saw. When they originally walked me into the area where they were going to perform the autopsy, I couldn't recognize her because the body that I was looking at, and of course they only show you the face, didn't look like her. She was decomposed. Her skin turned completely black, and she wasn't a dark-skinned person. So I couldn't understand why she looked like this. And I kept saying, this is not her. And my husband saying, it's her. I said, it's not her. How can you tell? He said, it's her. And I was devastated. I honestly thought they walked me in there and was taking me to some different body.
You saw probably some of the wounds, maybe. You saw the report.
I did see the report. I saw when we were there, because I could not identify my daughter, my husband asked to see the picture of the crime scene where they first found her on the street. That picture, I could identify her. And it had very graphically her throat slit with all the blood crusted around her throat. That I knew was Desiree.
I'm so sorry. No parent should ever have to see that.
Yeah.
We have footage of your daughter. This is exclusive video of the last time Desiree was seen. It's from a security camera in the hotel. I'm going to show it to the audience, and then if it's okay, I want to talk to you about it.
Sure.
All right. So that top left panel, you'll see a little circle that's following Desiree out of her room downstairs. Now she's in the top right panel, the hallway, walking towards the lobby of the hotel, and then we'll pick it up in the bottom left. Desiree will appear, walk through the lobby of the hotel. And as you're looking at this, I'm going to point something out because she's going to walk through the lobby of the hotel without really stopping, and then out into the front of the hotel, which is the bottom right panel. And notice she's got flip-flops on, shorts, not carrying anything that we can really tell. And then she goes around the corner right there and just out of sight, apparently was picked up in a car.
It appears so.
So as you look at that security footage, what does that tell you about your daughter?
She was going to meet somebody she knew. It is somebody who called her, said, come outside, for whatever reason. Because she came, the first time she came down, you could see her looking through the door. She looked like texting on her phone, talking to the security guard, went back up to the hotel room. The only difference when she came down that second time is she had put a pair of sunglasses on her head, clear pair of sunglasses, and came back down, said something to the security guard, and looked at her phone again, and then went through the door. And as she made that left, that was the last time she was ever seen.
Why would you put on a pair of sunglasses?
I have no idea. Just an accessory, I guess.
And did the security guard have any insights at all?
None. In fact, when he was questioned, he had said that when Desiree was leaving, she said, I'll be right back.
Are you satisfied with how police are investigating this case?
No. Not at all. I'm extremely frustrated with the authorities down there. It's very difficult to get answers from them. You know, from the very beginning, there was a flip-flop they found at the crime scene, and one of the detectives took it back to the hotel and just threw it in her hotel room on the floor. So it wasn't taken for evidence of any kind. And when they went to the hotel to go through her room, she had a local cell phone she bought in Jamaica. I found it in one of her bags there as I was packing up to bring her things home when we were leaving. And because they were asking about her cell phones. And fast forward a year later, when I went down for the 1-year anniversary, I had inquired about that phone and if they had contacted the people inside that phone. And they looked at me like I was crazy and they said, what phone? There was never a phone. I said, yeah, there was a phone. And, you know, I had taken pictures of everything in the phone. And I said, but what about this person? Did you contact them? Did you investigate this one? Oh, we don't know anything about that phone. So one detective looks at another and says, oh, we sent it to Kingston, but there was nothing in there. It didn't, their line is, it didn't prove fruitful to our investigation.
So I know you haven't gotten much of a response from them.
Right.
But we did. We got a statement from the police. When we come back, the latest on the investigation and what you needed to know about staying safe and protecting yourself while you're on vacation. Desiree Gibbon was murdered while vacationing in Jamaica. Her body was found just 3 days before she was scheduled to fly back home to New York. Desiree's mother, Andrea, is back, and joining her is private investigator TJ Ward, who also investigated the Natalie Holloway disappearance. So he's got some experience in the area. We reached out to the Montego Bay Police Department. We asked whether they were prioritizing Desiree's case. Here's what they said in part. This particular matter is being given high priority attention and is being treated as a significant investigation. The statement goes on to say they've pursued and continue to pursue several leads. They have interviewed several people, and they're analyzing a number of items for forensic evidence. We've got the full statement on droz.com. Andrea, I know they haven't been forthcoming with you, but they did share a little bit of an update with us. What do you think about their claims, their statement?
I think it's amazing that they would respond in such a way where I can't even get them to answer a message. It'll take them sometimes a week or 2 weeks to get back to me. And the only statement I keep getting is, there have been no new leads. So that's very interesting that you were able to obtain that statement.
TJ, why did you decide to get involved?
Well, I was asked to get involved, and we have expertise to work in cases outside the country. And we want to take our expertise and assist the Jamaica police with things they may have missed or followed up with.
And what's it going to take to find the killer?
Well, there are certain things that I have seen already in the case, such as the second phone that was found, and there was an array of numbers were in that phone that apparently have not been identified. And we need to identify those and identify other witnesses in this case that may be important to lead us to this heinous crime.
Are you going to look into her Instagram account and why it was discontinued?
We're going to follow every lead and work hands-on with Andrea to try to establish who the killers are and hope to get results from our investigation.
Andrew, what do you think happened to your daughter? You know her better than anybody.
I honestly have no idea. I do know that whoever killed her is somebody she knew. I had heard at one point through the underground in Jamaica that there was a gentleman who was interested in Desiree and she was not interested. And I was told that when this particular individual saw her talking to another person, he became very jealous and he is the one who killed her. I don't know that to be true. That's what they're saying in the undergrounds of Jamaica. And people will tell you everybody knows what happened to her, but nobody's willing to talk.
Well, I look forward to hearing your investigation. We'll follow the case with you.
Thank you.
I think this crime should be solved.
Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. I want to go back to our correspondent, Mara Schiavocampo, who has some tips on protecting ourselves when we're away on vacation. These are vitally important ideas. I had never even thought of some of these concepts. But we can do things to stay safe while on vacation. You spent a good part of your life traveling the country.
Yeah, I used to live on the road, the whole world, and even to conflict zones. And you want to make sure that you do not let your guard down. A lot of times we're on vacation, we don't take the precautions we would normally take because we want to relax and let our hair down. You can do that, but you also have to be smart. So for one thing, travel in groups, don't go places alone, and keep in mind that these attacks can even occur at the hotel or the resort that you're staying in, even upscale places. Try not to overdo it with the drinking. I know nobody wants to hear that. The other option is you can just have a designated sober person in your group, one person who's kind of looking out for everyone else. The second thing is your hotel room is really important. Now, when I was living on the road as a reporter, I had a cameraman who used to call me Goldilocks because my room had to be just right. I would go back to the desk 2 and 3 times until I got a room I felt safe in. Don't stay on a floor that's too low and easily accessible from the street. You don't want to stay in a room that's remote, that's too far away from all the action, or that's near a dark stairwell. Make sure you use the deadbolt because there have been cases where hotel employees with keys have been the perpetrators of crime. And this is my favorite travel gadget of all time. It's light, it's easy to pack.
So this is a doorstop.
It's a doorstop.
You shove it under the door.
You put it under the door. It's battery operated. So on the back, you turn it on when you're ready to use it. You put it under the door and it does 2 things. One, if someone tries to come in, it stops the door. And when this is triggered, it sets off a piercing alarm.
Oh, I see. Yes, you see this actually goes up and down. So when the door, if someone does try to push the door open, it stops the door, but it also triggers the alarm. Good.
It's like carrying a personal security system. And in a case where it might be a hotel employee with a key, you're going to throw them so off guard because they're not expecting an alarm in the room. This, I never travel without it.
Well, this should be an indispensable part of everyone's travel kit. Well, thank you very much. We'll be right back, everybody. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.